Hi, John here. I just want to show you what Warren Buffett says about Bitcoin, and I've got it on record with Michael Saylor that's promoting Bitcoin. That's the best thing in the crypto world, or the Bitcoin world, as he says it is. So today is Monday, 1st of July, 2024. Here goes. I've been watching these guys and how it works, and now know everything. So I'm going to put the video on to the screen, and we'll wait for it. Bitcoin. Wolf of Wall Street warns about Bitcoin. And here you can see Saylor there. Bitcoin, Michael Saylor. Bitcoin, gold, the death of the dollar, and Michael Saylor, and closure of the global cabal story. Fake Bitcoin, how this woman scammed the world. 15 billion crypto scam right there, right? Satoshi Nakamoto and the civil something war within Bitcoin. There, see that one? Right, okay, now, where did Bitcoin come from? The true story. Okay, now, put the speaker up and let's have a listen. The time is 5:50, about 6 o'clock, bit early. Okay, here we go. Listen up, people.
Level of Bitcoin itself. He's talking, this futures regulation, but the underlying asset is completely unregulated. It's a dark market.
Bitcoin is worthless artificial gold, which, if it succeeded, would facilitate a lot of illicit activity.
But the word is starting to get through that Bitcoin is much more than that. People are starting to look at our economic system with increasing skepticism. Currency is continuously being created. Food prices and bond yields are rising, hinting at inflation. And knowing that the long-term value of all fiat currencies over the last few thousand years has tended towards zero, it's only natural to think that there may be some issues ahead. I've outlined financial problems specifically in my How Money is Created video, which all of you really enjoyed, but it clearly highlights that there's a need for new thinking on the
One
topic.
scam to another.
Friedrich Hayek, winner of the 1974 Nobel Prize in Economics, stated the following in
8.
1984.
See, 8 points.
I don't believe we shall ever have a good money again before we take the thing out of the hands of government. All we can do is by some sly roundabout way introduce something that they can't stop. End quote. While it's undeniable that Bitcoin is not perfect, it broadly achieves this goal, and as you'll soon see, it can't be stopped. So before we continue, it's probably wise to have a quick primer on Bitcoin. I first talked about Bitcoin on this channel back in 2013, and since then we've done a whole bunch of episodes on Bitcoin and blockchain. But for those that are new, here's a quick summary. When you pay a shop using a bank card, the shop checks with the bank to see if you have money to make the purchase. The bank checks its records, verifies that you have enough money, and deducts that amount from your card. It then updates its records and takes a fee for providing their services. If you wanted to remove the banks from the system, who would you trust to keep the records straight? No altering or cheating. No one would ever trust a single person with that much power, but you may give your trust to a collective group of people, many millions in fact. The main idea is to not have a centralized record of transactions. Many copies of those transactions are distributed across the world. Every owner of each copy records every transaction. In this new model, the shop, instead of checking with the banks, checks with everyone's records to see if you have the money. When the purchase is made, all the record keepers update their records. If an individual transaction record is fraudulent, it doesn't agree with the rest of the copies of the transaction records and gets rejected. This large group of people checking record transactions aren't people at all, but a network of computers. There is no need for third parties such as banks, because the decentralized network keeps itself in check. Amazingly, That means no bans, no server shutdowns, or blocking of payments, because payments occur directly between people. Although transactions can be tracked, they cannot be stopped. So-called miners keep the network running by solving complex equations on their computers. These people mine Bitcoin in chunks called blocks that contain all of the recent transactions. Blocks are kind of like a page in a record-keeping book. The miners receive payment in Bitcoin for their effort, much like mining gold. Also like gold, there's a finite supply of Bitcoin to stop it from being devalued, much like we're currently seeing in fiat currency. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins, and the final Bitcoin will be mined in 2140. So what gives Bitcoin its value? In reality, it's just worth what someone's willing to pay for it. So could the price drop to zero? If confidence is lost, yes, it's possible. But regardless, it is a pretty interesting idea. There's an argument to be made that the value of Bitcoin is actually the trust and utility of the Bitcoin network itself. What the price is for that value, no one is sure yet.
So yeah, I think a really useful idea. A blockchain is just a type of database.
Mm-hmm.
It's a distributed ledger that in some use cases, like for a banking back office, is kind of like a database upgrade. So massive improvements in efficiency, but probably not that transformative or disruptive. When you take a blockchain, you make it public and decentralized, and then you add money to that, you add a cryptocurrency, then you're looking at something that is that first use case, that offshore banking system, that I think is fundamentally disruptive, and disruptive financially, economically, and even potentially politically.
So how is Bitcoin maintained? Bitcoin is open source, so anyone can edit the code. It's a misconception that the code has stayed the same for the past 10 years. There's maintenance carried out to ensure smooth functioning. This is done through a Bitcoin Improvement Proposal, or BIP. A BIP is just a document that proposes core changes. But to stop someone from inserting some code that says, say, give every Cold Fusion viewer 1,000 Bitcoin, there needs to be 95% consensus across the last 2,000 miners. Basically, it's a digital voting system. On January 3rd, 2009, the first block of Bitcoin was mined. Within this very first block, a special message was written. It read, quote, "The Times, 3rd of January 2009, Chancellor on the brink of second bailout for banks." This gives us a clue to Bitcoin's purpose for existing, a response to a broken financial system. Just 9 days after the first block was mined, the first Bitcoin transaction is completed. It was between Bitcoin's creator, Satoshi Nakamoto, and another cryptographic enthusiast, Hal Finney. It was a healthy sum of 10 Bitcoin, worthless at the time as there were no exchanges to determine a price. Satoshi Nakamoto would announce his invention of a new economic system on a cryptography mailing list on July 9, 2009. Hal Finney would help Satoshi fix bugs and improve security in those early days. While these steps mark Bitcoin's creation and the first instance of application, this is by no means the beginning of Bitcoin's story. For that, we must travel back over 2 decades to the year 1983. In 1983, American cryptographer David Chaum is already experimenting with the idea of electronic cash. He was part of a movement known as the cypherpunks. They were activists who defended the idea of using cryptography and computers as a powerful tool to protect the privacy of individuals. If you were to put it into political terms, they were kind of like digital libertarians. David wanted to create a safer and more anonymous transaction system. His efforts led to the invention of the blind signature protocol, breaking ground on what would become known as the foundations for modern blockchain technology.
I created a concept for how you could use eCash to make your payments, and then the blind signatures could be used to basically prove things about you without revealing who you are. Classic, say, if kids at a bar and they want to, or somewhere they want to get in, they would say to prove that they have they're old enough, or they have a driving license, or they're from a different state or whatever, but they don't want to give their address and all this other stuff. Well, that's what you could do with the credential mechanism.
In the years that followed, David Chaum began building his idea of a workable cryptographic electronic money system, and in 1989, the company DigiCash was born. A notable employee at DigiCash was cryptographer Nick Szabo. Nick would go on to be influential in the early crypto space, but more on him later. In 1993, DigiCash launched their eCash system, a product that enabled the safe and anonymous transfer of money over the internet. eCash was David's answer to what he considered to be the extremely unsafe practice of using credit cards online. According to insiders at the time, eCash was a technically perfect product that resolved many of the issues that came with credit card payments, such as security concerns and fees. Despite his good intentions, what David was doing was risky at the time because the US government sensed a threat.
A number of my colleagues and friends had secrecy order placed on them by the United States government, which made it a federal crime to reveal what they were researching. But, to apply that to cryptography seemed a bit out of range. The National Security Agency, which is our main cryptographic authority in the United States, for protecting secrets and breaking codes, they got a new director, and he started writing letters to all the scientific associations telling them that they should not have conferences or even sessions at conferences that covered cryptography. I felt it was just too important, so I risked spending the rest of my life in jail to set cryptography free.
Digital cryptography was so frowned upon that some early crypto enthusiasts had to smuggle code through shirts or tattoos. Much like Bitcoin, the eCash product began gaining incredible levels of attention from buyers. At the height of the hype, David Chaum was contacted by none other than Bill Gates. Gates wanted to integrate eCash into every copy of Windows 95. It's rumored that he offered $100 million for the project. David Chaum declined the offer, and every other offer that came after that. According to ex-employees, David's stubbornness and paranoia made it hard for him to trust the intentions of those interested. He also assumed that there'll be better offers around the corner. He wanted eCash to be perfect. He believed in the importance of his work. In 1996, he stated, quote, "The difference between a bad electronic cash system and a well-developed digital cash will determine whether we have a dictatorship or a real democracy." Due to infighting, David eventually lost control of DigiCash, and the company fell into the hands of external investors. DigiCash began pitching their products to banks, several of whom were interested, but the vast majority of banks at the time were conservative and would rather stick to lucrative credit cards rather than an experimental product. By 1998, DigiCash was bankrupt, signaling the end of the very first wave of digital currency. Before we continue, here's a quick word from today's sponsor, Discord. Discord is a place where our Cold Fusion community can get together and chat. Setting up the server was really straightforward and only took a couple of minutes. I've added separate chat categories for technology, business, finance, medicine, and future video suggestions. I've decided to do this because over time I've noticed that I've received a lot of interesting emails from professionals in industry and just awesome people in general who tell me interesting stuff that's going on in the tech world. So I'm sure bringing all of you guys together would generate some interesting and great conversation. I've been meaning to create a Discord server for a while, so when Discord reached out to me, I thought it was perfect. So come over and have a chat. It's free and takes just 15 seconds to join. Check the link in the description to get started. It seemed like the world was just not quite ready for electronic crypto money. But this did not stop progressive thinkers from seeing potential in the idea. After all, it wasn't the idea that was bad, it was just well ahead of its time and had the added issue of having no strong leadership. In 1999, famous economist Milton Friedman even said that, quote, "An electronic cash was necessary for the newly found internet and was also a logical tool for limiting government overreach."
I think that the internet is going to be one of the major forces for reducing the role of government. The one thing that's missing, but that will soon be developed, is a reliable e-cash, a method whereby on the internet you can transfer funds from A to B without A knowing B or B knowing A.
He would go on to say that the monetary supply and monetary policy should be set by a computer where it could not be corrupted by humans. In the mid-1990s, the market exploded with companies that were based around cryptographic money. They were all riding the wave of attention that DigiCash had generated. In 1996, even the NSA got in on the action. They published a paper titled, quote, How to Make a Mint, the Cryptography of Anonymous Electronic Cash. They described their own, fairly impressive version of a cryptocurrency, but it proposed the need for a centralized bank to keep tabs on transaction records, going directly against the heart of the movement. The movement did continue, and before long, some intriguing ideas began popping up on message boards. Some of these ideas were very valuable to what would later become Bitcoin. B-Money, for example, was designed by University of Washington graduate Wei Dai. Published in 1998, B-Money was designed as a way to enable online economies to exist entirely free from outside regulation. B-Money was ultimately theoretical, and while popular, it never gained enough traction to become a reality. Other ideas within the online community were less helpful. Jim Bell's Assassination Politics essay, for example. In the essay, he proposed an encrypted currency system to be used by disgruntled citizens unhappy with their political representatives. Money could be anonymously donated to a pool until the amount was high enough for someone to accept the bounty and assassinate a politician. It was a concept that eventually led to Bell doing some prison time. In all of this chaos, the idea that stands out most in hindsight is BitGold, proposed by ex-DigiCash employee Nick Szabo in 1998. Nick had the idea that instead of a digital currency being a token that represents fiat money, the digital currency itself could be a valuable commodity, and it would be awarded to miners for completing cryptographic equations. Sound familiar? Where BitGold differs from past attempts was the complete distancing from any reliance on banks. Nick Szabo explains, quote, I was trying to mimic as closely as possible in cyberspace the security and trust characteristics of gold, and chief among those is that it doesn't depend on a trusted central authority. End quote. If David Chaum's eCash was an early ancestor to Bitcoin, then BitGold was the missing link. Although it was an establishing building block for the future of cryptocurrencies, it was only theoretical and also flawed. For one, it had far less concern with privacy and also had some technical shortcomings when it came to mining. So along with B-Money, BitGold was never widely adopted. So then, despite all of its exciting progress, the cryptographic money community fell relatively quiet for a decade. Then, in August of 2008, the domain name bitcoin.org was anonymously registered. In October, a paper titled Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, was posted to a cryptography mailing list, signed Satoshi Nakamoto. In this paper, Nakamoto presented to the world the fundamental outline for Bitcoin. As it stands, this paper started a cryptographic chain reaction that changed the course of financial history. Today, nation-states want to start their own digital currencies. The city of Miami wants citizens to be able to pay bills in Bitcoin.
To be able to offer our employees to get a percentage of their salary in Bitcoin allows our residents to pay for fees in Bitcoin, and also would allow for taxes to be paid in Bitcoin. It also requests of the state legislature to make Bitcoin an acceptable currency for us to potentially invest in the future.
PayPal, MasterCard, and Apple Pay are now integrating Bitcoin. Tesla has bought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin, and General Motors is contemplating putting Bitcoin on its balance sheet. Large financial institutions are now accepting exposure to Bitcoin. What separated Bitcoin from past attempts was the overcoming of the double spending problem. Unlike physical stores of value, digital money is simply data, and data can be replicated, and this allows the potential spending of a single coin multiple times. In the past, this issue was solved by involving a trusted third party to oversee transactions. In the case of eCash, that third party was banks. But to Nakamoto, that defeated the point, and much like Nick Szabo attempted with BitGold, the intention with Bitcoin was to create, quote, a system for electronic transactions without relying on trust. Bitcoin succeeded in overcoming the double spending problem by implementing an updated record of who owns what and at what time, as discussed earlier. This was the birth and implementation of the blockchain. With the double spending problem solved, the system was brought online and tested, and it worked. By 2009, Bitcoin was up and running. In July of 2010, It began trading at a value of $0.0008 US and had risen to $0.08 by month's end. But of course, nobody really cared. Here's the very first Reddit post about Bitcoin in 2010. It was downvoted. The first reference of Bitcoin in TV history was the program Good Wife in 2012, when Bitcoin was at a price of $3.41.
I went online and I bought 1 Bitcoin last night.
Really? It's the future.
I don't know. It didn't feel real.
Real's gonna change. Just watch.
Here's a talk about Bitcoin to an empty room in 2013, when it was at $100. Literally nobody cared here.
Bitcoin neutrality mean? Neutrality in Bitcoin means being able to adopt Bitcoin in any culture, any language, any religion, any geography.
But there were some believers though. Chamath Palihapitiya shares his views on Bitcoin at $135.
Owning that currency and allowing water to find its level, particularly in the developing markets, is huge. And if you don't think that this thing is going to rip, when Brazil goes through devaluation, when the Indian rupee continues to get crushed, when you have all of this money trying to get in and out of these countries where there's massive, political instability or monetary or financial instability, you're being naive. It doesn't matter what happens in the United States. It doesn't matter what happens in Japan. It doesn't matter what happens in the EU. It doesn't matter. It matters what happens in Argentina, in Venezuela, in Kenya, in Brazil, in India, in Russia, in China. And when you look at where all the activity is, it's in all of those markets.
Yep.
This will be born out of a people's desire to have unfettered access to capital.
Despite finally cracking the code to a working electronic cash system, Satoshi Nakamoto has mysteriously chosen to remain completely anonymous. On April 26, 2011, Satoshi Nakamoto would send his final verified email and vanish. Satoshi still owns 1 million coins which have never moved from his digital wallet. If the price of Bitcoin was to reach $197,000, it would make him the richest person in the world. So Satoshi Nakamoto, who is such a mysterious figure, has fueled speculation and false claims. Who is Satoshi, and why did he vanish? We'll explore this, as well as some concerns about Bitcoin, in the next episode. So thanks for watching. I hope you learned a thing or two in this episode. Be sure to check out the Discord, and also follow me on Twitter and Instagram.
Okay, there we go. There, that's just a sample of which direction we are taking for the Maori pound note cash currency system. Okay, so we're looking at a means of a wallet that can handle the Bitcoin, the crypto, and the pound note, and every other currency in one shot. So there, that's going to tell you that the Bitcoin is successful, but one wrong key move and you lost a lot. Okay, or lose your password, it's gone. That's not good enough for us and the Maori Crown King William IV Trust. That's not secure enough. You have to go further than that. Pare, Rivers and Rabataka, because you're with me and I'm going to show you the safest way to go with our small investment. Okay, we're going to look at where we're going, and there it was saying how much worth a Bitcoin's going to be down the track. I'll go back over it again to find how much percent it goes up, and the Maori chip coin will match it, or better. So at the moment, the Maori pound note is worth $60,000 US a pound note. Weight of gold, so it's backed by gold. The Maori pound note is backed by gold. And before long, when the hydrogen platform bridge goes up, it will be also backed by water power and the hydrogen fuel on top of it. Okay, and then you've got your birth certificate at 1 trillion Maori pound notes times 60,000 US dollars current valuation at the moment on top of it. Okay, you got that, Robert? It's quite plain if you watch this video and pick out the pointers of how much they're assessing the Bitcoin after a certain period of time. It's going to skyrocket, and so is our chip coin going to skyrocket, and we are going digital with the pound note, the 1 bar pound note with Queen Elizabeth's head on it, the new one coming out after October 2024, and with King Charles' head on their 1 bar unpatented British pound note. And we've got King Ernest Augustus V, the reigning monarch of our documents, and our Maori E-State AI Federal Republic Government of Aotea, New Zealand, on the pound note that's worth 970 million trillion pound notes. One day I will tell you how that was achieved to get that figure, but not in the moment, because guys like Tin Chan wants the answer and cheat. No, the answer's not going to come out until you see the valuation going up. Okay, in this calculation from this movie we did just see now, where did Bitcoin come from? The true story. Okay, so there, that's 3 years ago, and it's had 2.5 million views to watch that video of the beginning of crypto money, Bitcoin. Okay, so that's that. And there's there, that guy there, Bitcoin, gold, and death of the dollar with Michael Saylor. It's planned. This is rigged. It's all rigged up so that the elite can take over the world with their cryptocurrency. But how come Britain or England is staying with their pound note and putting the head of their monarchs on it? So we're going to do the same. Put our heads on the Maori pound note and the 2 native chiefs of Aotea, New Zealand, on the trillion pound note, 2 bar pound note. Okay, so there we're going to match pound for pound and see which one outlasts the other, which one has a continuity of sovereignty to King William III of Orange, 1689, War Powers Act, to keep cyber thieves and pirates on the high sea away from us. The Admiralty Mortgage Lien Bank Forfeiture Bankruptcy note that we are using to liquidate any thieves. The FTX disaster is deeper than you think. Fried chips man there. That's the biggest scam of crypto that went on, where people lost money. You lose money. That's all I can see. People losing. And I've got it all over my Facebook. I must watch this one here, this one, but not now, later on.
This video is brought to you by Skillshare. Hi, welcome to another episode of Cold Fusion. Before we get started, I just want to say thank you to everyone who joined the Discord. I know it was a bit chaotic to begin with, but we've got some moderators in there now.
Nakamoto and the Civil War within Bitcoin.
Alright, so on to the video. In the previous episode,
Okay.
we took a look at how cryptocurrencies were born in the 1980s, and then we followed their underground struggle in the 1990s. A group of individuals risked prison time because they believed in total
Prison.
financial
That's where they're
freedom
all
from
going in
government.
prison.
Today,
Because
we'll
it's
dive
one
into the
big
civil war in
scam,
the
like
modern
the
Bitcoin
US dollar
community and
and
see how some
the
believe that
British
the
one bar
cryptocurrency has
pound
been
note.
co-opted by banking interests.
Rothschild
And lastly,
Banks is
we'll take a
one
look at
big
some
scam.
theories into
Okay,
who
that's
Satoshi
all.
Nakamoto may be. Let's begin.
You are watching Cold Fusion TV.
I'll just tip it off now, turn it off.
One of the first things you need to understand to grasp the modern state of Bitcoin is the block size wars. As we discussed in the last episode, Bitcoin is mined in blocks. These blocks contain a record of all the most recent transactions. The size of these blocks, measured in megabytes, have a meaningful impact in the way that Bitcoin functions. Satoshi originally placed a 1 megabyte block size limit on Bitcoin. So why did he do this? Well, Satoshi didn't want some miner on the network to create a huge block, terabytes in size, that could clog up the entire system. As time went on, this 1 megabyte block size limit made Bitcoin hard to scale as more users came online. As more people used the Bitcoin system, payment times became longer and fees became higher. Even to date, Bitcoin can only do about 7 transactions per second. For context, PayPal does about 15, and Visa 2,000 transactions per second. But Satoshi knew this was coming, and in his original writings, he remarked that Bitcoin would be updated with larger block sizes as it scaled. So here's where the issue arises. There was a fundamental split in the community. It was over the question of if Bitcoin was a long-term store of value, like gold, or a quick medium of exchange, like cash. Within the Bitcoin developer community, so-called big blockers wanted bigger block sizes so more transactions could take place. This would make Bitcoin function closer to a method of payment and electronic cash. On the other side of the aisle was the small blockers. They saw Bitcoin as a store of value, so transaction speed and efficiency didn't matter as much. In their eyes, the original 1 megabyte limit was fine. Why risk messing with it? According to the small blockers, having large blocks would make it hard for some computers to handle. They stated that eventually only large companies with powerful computers would dominate the network, forming a monopoly. In 2015, Gavin Andresen, whom Satoshi left in charge after vanishing, and a Google developer by the name of Mike Hearn would team up together to tackle this problem. Their solution was the release of Bitcoin XT, equipped with a 2 megabyte block size that was set to increase over time and capable of 24 transactions per second. It looked promising, and the miners in the community were on board. If the majority of the Bitcoin community downloaded the Bitcoin XT software and decided to run it on their nodes, the community would have voted with their machines, and the issue would have been settled. But there was strong opposition. The small blockers saw this as a betrayal. The technical experts should determine the direction of Bitcoin, and not a populist campaign. From here, things got bizarre. Strangely, due to a multitude of reasons and some possible foul play, Bitcoin XT ultimately didn't reach mass adoption.
Garnered a lot of support. A lot of miners especially were like, hey, this is great. I would love to mine bigger blocks. There's more money in a bigger block for me, so why would I not go that direction? Well, all of a sudden, DOS attacks. Tons of data is pushed across a network, forcing a node to crash. Mike's entire regional ISP was DOS attacked for days. All of these XT nodes got pushed off the network. Only ISPs where XT nodes existed were DOS attacked.
Strangely, online, the main Reddit Bitcoin forum would ban anyone that talked about Bitcoin XT. Mike Hearn in 2016 stated, quote, "Why has Bitcoin failed? It has failed because community has failed. What was meant to be a new, decentralized form of money that lacked systematically important institutions and too big to fail has become something even worse.
It's worse.
Completely controlled by just a handful of people."
Yep, so that'll do, Paddy and Rapita. That will do, because I'm just what's going to fail. I'm fixing things as a mechanic to make sure it won't fail when we start to sail. Okay, we're going into rough seas with the turbines to make hydrogen power for mining our chip coin with the hydrogen jet and rocket fuel and the water to drink, the hydrogen water. I put that on my Facebook site this morning, and at 3 o'clock I got up and away we went, because I've got Bitcoin on the brain and the chip coin on the brain to match them up with the pound note, 1 bar against our 2 bar patented pound note, and see if we can go alongside them and see who's going to win the race. Okay, that's it. And the chip coin race against the Bitcoin in the money wheel. So that's our flag side of the money wheel. The Confederation of United Tribes of Aotea, New Zealand, is on a roll. Okay, we can't stop. There's no turning back now. Rapata, Ka, and Pare rivers, there's no turning back. Okay? And we've got our Dr. Brian Workman behind us to keep our health in check. No medication. Okay? That's it. He can fix us without the medication, drugs to kill us. Throw them away and go on his system of frequencies. And the Maori Total Turbine project is frequencies as well. It's magnetothermohydrodynamic system run. For every megawatt we put out, we get 0.45 of a free megawatt of water through a pair of magnets. Okay, so that's a little bit of a hint that we can make power extra in mass amounts, and still there for us to do. Okay, so that's our investment in mining hydrogen. That's it. They mine their crypto, which has got nothing underneath it, and Michael Saylor is trying to put value in it and say crypto or Bitcoin is money, because the tax department, US federal state, saying you're using our fiat money, therefore it's going to attract tax and government duty, and you have got away with it, you're going to have to pay. And one of ours, the Maori, Shelley Cullen, has been stung with a $5.2 million US fine. And that's the US federal state government is going to come down hard on all those crypto freaks who haven't paid tax, because they're promoting not paying tax, but paying peer-to-peer. That's crypto to crypto, and no third-party US federal government for attracting their tax-free money for nothing, for doing nothing, sitting on their ass. That's Biden and his merry men of tax gatherers. Okay, so we're not going down that track. We are being accountable with what we're doing and not fall into that trap of people losing money. There's too many people losing money, and I've got videos there of people losing money. And I'll just give you a little shot of my site where you can see it. I'll see if I can get to it. I'll try and go to it. I'll try and find it and show you. That's what Joe Biden looks like, and this is the big crook there, the deep dark state, and that stupid bitch there that cackles like a bloody frog and grasshopper. I'll go right down. I've got to skip through quite a bit to go to the site where I've got that scam crypto man ripped US Canadians money, 41 million, and skipped out, and the government confiscated all his properties, cars, but then he was bragging about it. Ended up, he was driving a flash car next day and got too many wallets. That's why he's gone into other wallets and other wallets. So it's like a big maze of wallets to hide all his stolen wealth. Okay, I'll see if I can find it. I'll find it, yep. What's that say? US dollars to Salvadorian. I'm posting a lot of stuff. This guy, here we go. Crypto King of Canada, untangling his web of fast money. WS investigation. This guy.
To Oshawa, east of Toronto, where we've uncovered a second feeder scheme involving a 27-year-old named Colin Murphy.
So I met him right here in my very own backyard. I figured he must be doing something right to be cruising around with a Lamborghini and a Porsche.
Craig Sutherland invested with Colin Murphy, who introduced him to Aidan Platursky at a racetrack in southwestern Ontario.
See? Flash things.
Stay for a burnout. He took this video of them burning rubber in Colin's $300,000 Lamborghini.
Oh, trash the Lambo. So after I saw that Aidan was down there with his McLaren, that kind of sold me on that this is legit. These guys got money, and I should probably toss more money in, because these guys are getting huge returns on their money if they're buying friggin' McLaren straight out. I was just impressed by the money that they were throwing around and the stories he was telling me about the yachts and the boats and the cars.
Over 4 months in the summer of 2021, Sutherland handed over $270,000.
I knew the money was going to Aidan initially, yes, because Colin said that he was transferring it to the main guy.
Sutherland believed he was making big returns from reports given over WhatsApp messages. According to Murphy, in December, his $270,000 investment more than doubled. In January, that investment soared to $711,000. In February, Sutherland asked for $150,000 back, and he got a check from Aidan Platursky's company, AP Private Equities. And by March of 2022, Sutherland was told that the $120,000 he had left invested was now worth over $878,000.
These guys obviously had some big money.
But then, like the others, the updates slowed down.
And then when the communications started to slow down and there was no more discussion on the percentage of earnings that I was making, that's when I started to get bothered and worried a little bit.
Sutherland wanted to cash out. He even contacted Platursky directly for the money.
I definitely researched and found out a phone number for Aidan and texted him and told him that he needed to square up with me because Colin was blaming him for losing my money.
Frustrated, Sutherland launched a civil suit against Colin Murphy, citing fraud, and he won. But he hasn't seen a penny. And now Colin Murphy is the first of Platursky's circle to face jail time. Not for alleged fraud, but for what happened here. W5 has obtained this video of a search to seize Murphy's assets, including phones and computers. The person knocking on the front door is fraud recovery lawyer Norman Groot.
Are there any weapons in the house? No, man, I'm not a criminal. This is...
With him is Keith Elliott, a private investigator and financial fraud examiner.
There are no weapons in the house? I'm sorry to say.
We sat down with Elliott to review the search video, which has become a critical piece of evidence. In the search, Colin Murphy hands over what he claims is his only phone.
And you're asking specific questions to Colin about how many cell phones he has.
Yeah.
What's the point of that?
So we knew from the intelligence that we had gathered earlier that he had a minimum of 3 devices.
Watch the right-hand part of the screen. You can just see Colin Murphy. He goes into a bathroom that's out of frame. He stays there for about 5 minutes.
He comes out of the bathroom, you're now back in the kitchen, search is about to begin. Where's the first place that you're going to go?
I want continuity straight on that bathroom, which is the last point I saw Colin.
Elliot searches the garbage
This is a
inside the
jack-up.
cupboards, and then he strikes gold.
It's set up.
I found a cell phone
It's a
in
racket.
the bathroom.
So you pull out the plunger caddy, peel back the layer of rubber.
And there's a phone right there.
See, they set this
What's
up.
going through your mind when you found
And
this?
here's one of the missing phones, right? So here's the smoking gun.
See what happens next. Instead of taking the phone, they give it back to
grabs the
him.
phone and refuses to hand it over.
Colin, you gotta turn it over.
Well, he's going to call his lawyer right now.
No, you can't take that.
He's allowed to.
No, he's not allowed to take that, man.
Turn over the phone. There's a court order, Colin.
Are you allowed to be physical?
No, we're not going to be physical, Colin, but this is actually very serious. Colin, the consequence is that this is all being filmed and that a judge is going to watch this standoff over your phone. Contempt of court is a serious matter, right? This kind of contempt of court will land you in jail. But now what you've done is you try to conceal it.
The standoff ends when Colin Murphy allows Elliot's team to document the apps on the phone, and with his promise that he'll hand it over to the courthouse the next day.
See?
Murphy did that, but according to the evidence,
They shouldn't have
the
gave
phone
it back
had
to
been
him. They should have
What information
undeleted it.
essentially lost?
Robert,
Everything that was on that phone. So those 47 apps are all gone.
see?
Those applications
All
could be
gone because they
banking
gave it back to
information,
him.
They could be digital
The
wallets.
police
they could be
covered it up.
crypto.
Craig Sutherland, who invested $250,000 with Colin Murphy, isn't surprised.
I'm sure there's money stashed away still, and that's why the evidence was destroyed.
It's in
I know
other
that
wallets.
For sure that at one point, Colin told me that he had over $1 million in a crypto wallet. So, I mean, that's
It's
money
not
stashed
trustworthy.
that's untraceable.
Robert, we're not
Sure
going to
still
go
have
down
funds
that track.
sitting
That's
somewhere.
American bullshit.
When Colin Murphy showed
They're
up
all
for his court
fake.
date in
Americans
Oshawa,
are fake.
we were waiting for him.
The sooner
where's the
Putin
Porsche
deals with them,
Lamborghini?
the better. Get rid of
What's so
them.
funny? Where's the Lamborghini? I heard it was at your grandpa's house.
And go look.
I don't know why you think this is all so funny.
I'm glad you got the whole story and you don't know what an allegation is.
Well, let me ask you this. There are a lot of people whose lives have been really destroyed by investing with you. What do you have to say to them?
Nobody invested with me.
Do you have any kind of remorse for the people whose lives have been destroyed by this? Yeah, no? You could face jail time today. You could go to jail. Are you prepared for that?
In January of 2024, Colin Murphy was found in contempt of court for refusing to hand over his phone and for destroying evidence. He could spend even more time in jail if he doesn't hand over his Lamborghini and the deleted data, which could include crypto wallets.
See?
I just
Not
hope
worth
that,
it.
this
Pardon?
doesn't happen again. He's going to get what he deserves in the end, and that's for sure. That's all I want, is to see what he gets, what he deserves.
Up next, what they're trying to say is
There's that shark there.
Will justice be served?
Look, bragging online.
Consequences.
When W5 continues.
Between 2020 and
That's all
2022,
right. Aiden
this trio from
Blitzsterke.
Ontario collected at least $55
That young fella,
million
25-year-old,
from trusting
raked
investors
41
who
million out of
believed they
all
could
the
make them
investors
rich.
in Canada.
None of them had a trading license or were registered with the Ontario Securities Commission. And Aiden Platursky, dubbed the Crypto King, is accused of fraud, including breach of contract and conversion.
What's conversion?
Bragging.
Conversion. The act of taking someone else's property without their consent. So basically what they're trying to say is I stole money?
In August of 2022, Platursky was forced into bankruptcy. His creditors have been lining up to collect the assets he has left. Meanwhile, Platursky is traveling the world, flaunting his adventures.
See?
I'm not hiding anything from these guys. I've opened all my books up to them. I don't have anything to hide because the thing
He's
is,
gone
I know I
into
can trade. I
other
know I'm a good day
wallets.
trader. I know I'm a good investor. I know where to invest money. I know how to invest money. I know how to raise money. I know how to collect money. Right? Like, I'm not going to go run off, because if I was going to run off, I'm going to be honest with you. I would have stayed in Australia. I would have stayed in the UK. I would have stayed in the US. I would have left a long time ago.
Like, if anybody asks, we're vlogging.
You can't miss Aiden Platursky now, because he's all over the place streaming his whereabouts.
To me, it almost seems like a desperate way to protect himself.
Anna lost $75,000 investing with Platursky. She thinks he's in danger. We agreed to hide her identity.
He doesn't know what's coming in terms of consequences. He doesn't know that his life can be, in danger, and should he go to jail, because he has so much information on all these other people that he's been working with.
The public sees Aiden Platursky as sort of the kingpin in all of this.
He's not. I just don't see a 22-year-old kid, which is what he was at the time, thinking up of this grand plan of how we're going to go after these millionaires, billionaires, people who have decades of very successful business experience.
Platursky has already faced danger, tortured and beaten in a 3-day kidnapping. And he claimed people tried to extort money from him at the mansion he used to rent. What did he
still living high.
Attempts against him?
He was saying that these people would show up at his house, threatened to go after his family and to hurt his individual family members. They would find out where the family lives. At a certain point, he had to get professional security to protect himself.
Platursky was forced to give up the mansion as part of the bankruptcy.
Bankrupt them, brother.
And in May of 2023, it sold for $8.4 million to the NBA's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The pro bowler was then shocked when he started getting harassed and threatened at the mansion by people looking for Platursky. In fear, Gilgeous-Alexander moved out and took the seller to court to void the sale. He won. Our team has been digging into the original owner of the mansion, a man named Sandeep Gupta.
In the basketball case, the judge mentions the relationship between Sandeep Gupta and Aiden Platursky. Curious and complex.
It was and is a curious and complex relationship. We know that Sandeep Gupta was not only the landlord of this mansion where Aiden was staying and renting, but he also provided him with lawyers, and Aiden called Sandeep a mentor.
And now when the crypto market started to crash, Sandeep Gupta was the one that was giving Aiden advice about how to diversify his investments and things like that.
I don't know how many landlords actually get calls from tenants who are kidnapped, but Aiden Platursky called Sandeep Gupta again and again, begging for him to come up with $3 million for the ransom.
And we know that he didn't pay the $3 million.
Right, but then he was dropped off near Sandeep Gupta's house, right?
Yeah, 3 days after.
W5 has reached out to Sandeep Gupta for comment several times with no response.
See? Hide. All hide like Jacinda and Donkey. Run away.
They are the real risk.
Just like what's going to happen with
who are now bankrolling him
the Prime Minister up here,
so
Luxton. They're going to run for it.
But the minute he gets arrested, he now has
like Winston Peters, he'll run for it too, because he's selling their stuff.
And that puts his
Winston Peters, you are doing the same as this fella. Selling exploded.
While Anna believes Aiden Platursky's live streams are a desperate way to protect himself.
So let's go, bro. How's the streaming going?
We've learned people in Aiden's orbit are frightened, and at least one has ended up dead.
That's all it is.
Coverage has been about
the government is risking us. The New Zealand government, politicians are these salesmen like this fella. That's what I'm saying to all of you people that are buying
Tracy Collins lost her son Clayton
Christopher Luxton's Bitcoin or crypto, using cryptocurrency, and Winston Peters cryptocurrency.
And influencer from Toronto,
the same as here.
Known for his ties to the Biebers,
they're all
even attending a wedding for Justin Bieber's father in 2018.
Expanded figures.
Tracy
the
said shortly
inflated
after Platursky's
10-year
kidnapping,
plan.
her son
That's why
came to
Winston
her
Peters
with
said
wild stories.
his
to you and says,
investment,
"A friend of
he's
mine has been
invested
kidnapped." Can you tell
900
me about
million.
that
That's where he
kidnapping?
got it from, this
He
lot.
said that there were videos that were sent of, you know, the torture and stuff.
He was sent the video of Aiden's abduction and torture?
Yes. A bunch of people were apparently.
What did he say was on that video?
He was talking about there was water torture, there was hog tying, there was shooting a gun near his head, he was in the back of the truck.
This video, leaked on social media, doesn't show any of that. But Clayton told his mom he had seen the unedited version and knew who was behind the kidnapping.
Do you think that your son was in fear as well because of what happened to Aiden?
He said, these are bad people. I said, well, Clayton, why would they share this with you? Don't you feel like scared? And he said, no, I'm protected because I know too much. If you know too much, are you safe? Not really. You're a liability.
Clayton never sent his mother the video, but he did send her images like this of the two young men on a video chat, apparently right after Platursky was waterboarded. Clayton also told his mom Aiden was here for a month and went into hiding. 2 days after that message, Clayton was dead.
Got rid of him.
That was a very hard day.
Police told Tracy that his death was a suicide and that shortly after, someone
Police
broke into his
covered it up.
apartment.
The police are covering everything up and covering Eddie Mitchell up and Alfred Mitchell at the same time as these fellas.
How would everybody know he was dead that quickly? And then two, they know he's dead and they need to get in the apartment and take his stuff.
Tracy knew little about her son's circle. She knew he struggled with drugs and mental health.
He knew a lot of
Okay,
bad
that'll
people,
do.
I think.
That'll do. I don't want to hear any more because I'm just showing you what the cryptocurrency does to people's lives. Ruins it. It wrecks families. It wrecks your savings. It wrecks your investments. It wrecks everything. And Rabata, it wrecks your life. And that's what I'm saying about what is going to happen to you now if you go down that track of crypto and Bitcoin. We're not going with Bitcoin. We're staying safely in Britain, UK, with the pound note, the 2-bar Patterson pound note. Okay? And King William III of Orange and his 8-point star on our flag in the 4 corners of the earth, north, east, south, west, na ho e wha, and that's our native title to pick up the rent lease of every country, 257 countries in the world, and that's the Crown in Britain, which is us now, the Maori Crown, King William IV Trust, to liquidate all other corporate trusts in the Rothschild banks. That's why that 970 million trillion pound note, 2-bar, patented, will liquidate and foreclose on every corporate business, including Eddie Mitchell and Alfred Mitchell's business, and Bayless Real Estate for selling Cook Street in Auckland City, and for Ray White selling the Lotton Point for 536 Lotton Point Road and 400 Lotton Point Road, for selling those properties when they have got our title on it, the native title and the Taha Wānoa's title, and buried underneath the motel, and they built the motel right on top of our gravesite to get rid of our title and our memorial. So we're going in there to seize that too, seize Waitangi Treaty Grounds, 502 hectares, seize Cook Street and the land, and seize the land at Mangatochi Mountain and Pohara Pa, or Mangatochi Pa, but belongs to Paramount Chief Te Waikato Wharehere Manukau, the Moriori Chief of Chatham Islands, seizing all that land right around Mangatautri Park back into the natives' ownership. Jack Liam, radio announcer, 89 Free FM Hamilton. I'll be on the radio again when you want me to go right over the Tainui fraud scam business corporations of the Rothschilds and the fiat money, dollar, US dollar, and the fiat money's parent company, the pound note, single 1 bar pound note of Britain, UK. Okay, so we're going to wrap them up together with the crown on Jack's head is our people's crown, the people's power and the native people born on the land of New Zealand, Aotea, and the money that Eddie Mitchell stole, 17 trillion. Now you can see the first court we had with the Andy Divine, there was 3 companies registered in the Companies House in Australia with the Mitchell Family Trust, Mitchell Family Trust in Singapore, from the Mitchell Family Trust in New Zealand, under the Maori Land Title and Maori Te Ture Whenua Act 1993, transfer of land by Alfred Mitchell to his brother Eddie Mitchell, and then took to Singapore, changed the name to the Mitchell Investment Trust, or Mitchell Family Trust there, and took it to Australia, New South Wales, where they come from. They come from there. The prison convicts that are running the government in Wellington, scam, and the police and everybody supporting the scam. And those 3 companies that were registered the other day, I got the date there, when we did a live court hearing, there was 3 companies with Mitchell with A&E Investment Trust, with Dunn Bradstreet Accountants in Brisbane, Queensland, registered with the Companies House in Australia. And then the following court hearing we had after that court hearing was 12 companies registered with the A&E Investment Trust in lowercase letters, which is picking up the cash, and uppercase the corporation, unnamed trust, with anonymous directors, but nevertheless Dunn Bradstreet Accountants as trustee for Eddie Mitchell and Alfred Mitchell, but particular Eddie Mitchell, the property shark and mortgage fraud. Okay, mortgage fraud and land fraud, theft of New Zealand taxpayers' money, and put it over there and invested 17 trillion US dollars worth of property. Now, that was the second court hearing, Native Magistrate King's Bench court hearing. There was 12 registered companies on the Companies House office in Australia. And then just this next court hearing we had on Friday, last Friday, there was only, I saw on yesterday, I looked at the Companies House and there were supposed to be 12 companies, but there was only 3 companies there, and I thought, where's the rest of them? And I thought, blow it, I better have a look right through the whole list of companies, and blow me down. There they are, mixed up with all the other companies. And I thought, hell, I'll screen print them all, and for our next case, which is this Wednesday or Thursday, we're going to have another case to bring up 42 registered companies in a short space of time. So I sent it to our private investigator, ex-Scotland Yard detective, Graham Aylett in Browns Bay, Aylett Investigations Limited, that's been on it since 2008, the Cook Street property, and 2012 to 2017, right through, he said, get a court order. So I've been telling him, we are a court order of the High Court of Britain, UK. We are using the High Court rules on top of our court hearings. It's always got it there with the seals to go with it of the King and the other seals on the flag and our own Maori Queen Victoria seal. It's Queen Victoria stole the Maori statue standing in London in Queen Elizabeth Great Court. The museum, that's Maori standing right there. That's her memorial to her Freemasons transfer documents from Aotea, New Zealand, to the British Crown ownership of the instrument, okay, to the lease of all the whole world, that one, the Queen Victoria Trust. So now we're looking at 41 registered companies. All of a sudden, yesterday, I looked and found them and screen printed the whole lot on 3 pages. Okay, they're there. Mitchell Family Trust, right there. So what I'm looking at is fraud in front of you and show you how they're doing it. And the accountant must have said, bugger you, Eddie, I'm going to put your name right there and take me off it. And but he's caught. He's caught because he did the transaction and got paid by Eddie, by all that money somewhere, that paid that accountant to falsify fraudulently companies, shelf companies, in his name, in the trust. It's the trust that our Maori Crown King William IV Trust is putting on the block. Trust versus trust, law versus law, LAW versus LAW. Okay? The King's Law of King William III, 1889, Constitution Act of Westminster Parliament, and the War Powers Act of Mortgage, Liens and Bank Loans, 1694, and the Bank of England Act 1694 that we use, and the 1834 flag of founding of New Zealand, King William IV, and 1835 King William IV Confederation of United Tribes flag of the 1835 Constitution Act and the 1835 Municipal Corporations Act for the councils to pick up the rent on the land. Okay, so that's what that flag means. Plenty of instructions to it. 20 instructions, in fact, for that flag. And trading and bank flag at the same time. Right? We're going to use the flag to liquidate Sindikira and their little Japanese flag with her crown, humbug crown on top of her head, with Jack Lim's crown on his head for the people's crown. Okay, there. I'm going to talk to him today and tell him, look at this. What do you think? 41 registered company takes a lot of millions to pay for that lot. And why would someone register 41 companies in a Mitchell name? Mitchell Family Trust, you bastard. You bastard. Alfred Mitchell, doing the dirty work of the Maori Land Court, is fraud, because the word Maori is Pākehā owned in the Parliament, where those Maoris and those Pākehās are making a deal between them and splitting it and cutting the money off in their pocket. That's what Jack Lim and the ratepayers in Hamilton did a protest on Friday last week and invited me to come on and say something, and I did. And I'm going to say more and more to tell you and expose and disclose what's looked as the biggest fraud scam land transfer in the world of bank mortgages. And a Maori and 2 Pākehās inside Parliament, inside job. Okay, inside job. Inside fraud. and corruption of the police backing them up, and they're all connected to our debt instrument, the 970 million trillion pound note. That's where that is valued up, just like the crypto. What did on this video, I'm just videoed the video as evidence. Okay? It's caught in this video because it's going online for everybody to see the disclosure of information that you never get an Australian registering 41 companies in one day. Yesterday. Okay? All of a sudden, 3 companies went straight to 12 companies registered to 41 companies. And next week it'll be more because they're spending the 17 trillion and we're going to seize the whole lot of them. And Blair Ingram says, you'll never get it back. Where's your proof? Well, not a good answer, Blair. That wasn't a good answer. That's not the answer I wanted to hear from you. Because, like Eddie said to me, you fellows were waiting for me to die so that you can take over the company. That's what he said to me. Blair, that's what he said. Because you're schoolmates, you know each other, and you don't trust each other. That's what you said to me when I rang you up. And you said, what are you ringing me for? I'm saying to let you know what happened to Te Awhutu's $5,000 cash. And he says, well, I didn't know about that. You see? Because I'm not supposed to tell anybody about your private affairs with Eddie Mitchell. He told me to say that to him. And ask everyone for 5,000 each. Asked me for 5,000. So I had a meeting with Blair Ingram, Hone Mason from Rangariri, Blair Ingram from Ngāruawāhia, Philip Te Awhitu from Te Aomuru, and Philip Newton from Te Aomuru, and how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us. 5 times 5,000. 5 5s are 25. Well, and my 5,000, but it was 33,000 for registering our company, Ngā Atua e Wā Aotea Limited. I set up for all New Zealanders, and it cost 33,000, that's what Eddie told me, to register it in Singapore. He hasn't delivered what we paid for with Philip Te Awhitu's money. He's a chief. He's an original surname, Awhitu. That's not British surname. It's original native indigenous surname that he ripped off. Eddie Mitchell is not an indigenous surname. It's a Pākehā, Australia, New South Wales, name under Queen Victoria. That scammy bitch of a queen that's ripped everybody off here and around the world. Ripped everybody off. Okay, so him, and that's where we got to with that, him, and now he's exposed with 41 companies registered. He's registered, and it shows clearly the Mitchell Family Trust. Now, it didn't have it before. It didn't have it before. In the 12 companies, it didn't have it, but on the 41 companies, it's got it plain as day. It's all over it. Okay, right down the line in the wrong order. You go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. It's mixed up with everything else to hide it away. That's the Companies House fraud. Shelf companies caught out. Just like how Gary Waterman's saying in Britain, in London, and England, saying that the shelf companies and the Companies House in London is a fraud. Shelf companies hidden as anonymous, and this is the same they're doing. Eddie Mitchell is doing with the accountants and everybody, the salesmen, the real estate companies. They're all in the scam together, and they get that pound note on their head, £1 trillion, straight off for any agent of that crown, that corporation of Queen Victoria and Queen Elizabeth and Charlie and William. And all his monarch family is not so monarch after all. They're just a bunch of thieves and pirates that have no continuity of sovereignty where they got the money laws from was the Dutchman, King William III of Orange. Okay. So there, that's our partner. We are his partner. We're the first party now. And Andy Devine, England, and those English people like Lee Kent and a few others are, and Kevin Blackburn is second party to a two-party contract, and the New Zealand Crown Government private corporation is the third party, and the Maori Whakamininga Maori government and their whakaputa flag is a fourth party to a two-party money contract. Okay, and Eddie's pinched that money, and we're going after him with the people of New Zealand, the people's Royal Crown Judicial Council and its Crown leader, Jack Layham, the radio announcer on Free FM 89, Hamilton. Okay, I said, yep, you're the one with the crown, and yep, we're the one with the bank. Okay, the Maori Powerhouse Bank, and Ngā Atua Iwa Aotea Limited creditors. Okay, creditors. And the Maori Crown King William IV Trust of all corporation trusts with our corporation flag, the only King's Emperor's corporation flag of the High Court of Britain, UK, Hanover. Okay, there you go, people. Sucker up with that one, will you? Because you all know now, it's fully disclosed, there's no need to target anybody because the information is in your brain. You're watching everything I'm saying, and all the documents are there. This video is there. This is proof video that we have a crime scene and criminals running it, scam, and we're reporting it to the police with a civil arrest. Civil arrest with the Home Guard and Gregory Cook and his lot, Te Pou and his lot, and the Huntley Home Guard and their lot, and our East Cape Home Guard and their lot, and Michelle Coco and her Home Guard's lot down the line in Rotorua, and Hastings and Wellington with Tikaya and his Home Guard lot down the Hastings and Wellington and South Island. That area of Naitau and all the iwis are gone because they're in the scam with Eddie Mitchell, and that's how they do it. In all those corporations are doing exactly the same thing as the government. Winston Peters, you are the biggest scam of a Maori selling your New Zealand government crown cryptocurrency of your own, and yours is free to join and running out of time. You got 5 days. You're forcing us pensioners to buy your crypto, New Zealand Crown private company crypto, for $450 for the crypto coin or token, just a little bit of a Bitcoin, a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction, and you're saying you invested, you, Winston Peter, I'm holding you liable, like this fellow's here in this video I just did, of a video, I'm holding liable for saying publicly that you invested 900 million of your money into your cryptocurrency. That's what you're saying. But it's inflated figures of these computer geeks that Warren Buffett said, I put him there, he's saying the crypto is artificial gold. It's nothing. It's nothing underneath it. It's gold on computer. It's all computer science and computer-generated code. It's not doing the work. It's stealing. And when you lose your password or press the wrong key and lose your information, you're gone because the pirates get to keep the money. You pirates in Parliament, government in Wellington, You're not there as politicians and servants for us. You're there to line your pockets like Eddie Mitchell. You're like him, Winston Peters, all of you lot of pirates from Australia, under that Australian New South Wales Queen Victoria. That's where you get your authority from. There, not Britain, in Westminster, in England soil land, where I get mine from, and our people, Crown Judiciary Council, on behalf of all the born native people of Aotearoa New Zealand country, Dutch found country, not German found country, Dutch found country, and East Island, Dutch found country with the Maori statue there, stolen by you lot of thieves. Winston Peters, you're a thief. You're a murderer. With your narrative, everyone will own nothing and be happy. That's what you're doing. You're promoting fraud and corrupted judiciary system of courts and parliamentary law. It's not law. Statute is not law, Winston Peters. You're not that clever after all. And your Treaty of Waitangi is a fraud because it's not a contract, an in-date contract where you've got to give it back. It's not honoured at all, and you've abandoned that contract or not contract and abandoned the British. And you've pulled your flag down of the flag of New Zealand, of the Union Jack 1902 flag. The Maori battalion went to war to fight the war with that flag, and our flag too, the Boer War, and you threw that flag in the sea, in the rubbish, and stuck up Cindy Kira's Japanese flag with your own crown on her head, and that's you. You've got a fictitious, ambiguous crown, and you're a fraud, fake people in there. And like Warren Buffett saying, you're artificial. You're an illusion of Maori, the word Maori, you Pākehās in there, with your name, Peters, and Mitchells, and Tamihiri, or Thompson, and Brown, Paraoni, and all the fake Maori names in there. You created all of that yourself, Winston Peters. You're the big crook, the Maori one, and your Pākehās in there. Christopher Luxton, selling your salesmen, your investment salesmen and insurance people, salesmen, selling his Pākehā cryptocurrency of your New Zealand Crown government. He's selling his for $400 New Zealand, and you're selling yours for $450 New Zealand dollars to pensioners and saying, hurry up, you only got 5 days and the price is going to go up. You are selling fraud instruments, Winston Peters, and I'm putting these instruments, those books there, on your head to dissolve you and liquidate all your assets, and you're going to lose all of it. Winston Peters, you're getting a pound note, you already got one on your head. Anyway, like Eddie Mitchell and Alfred Mitchell got pound notes on their head. They can't get them off because they are Freemasons. Instruments, like Mohi Manukau's Freemasons instruments. Eddie Mitchell is in it. Okay, he is shown up, exposed with his brother, in there with that Freemason fella, the Irish. The Irish are the biggest crooks out there in that video with him talking, saying he's going to look after the land. No, you're stealing the land. You're not looking after, you're stealing it for putting it in your investments and making real estate out of it. No, where you go, off the land, kicked you out off our native land and seized all your 32 properties in Hamilton and all the ones down in Queenstown and Australia. Seized the whole lot. Okay? Seized all the companies, everything. And the Bailey's real estate company seized all their business too, because I warned them. I warned John and David Bailey way back in 2008, if you sell Cook Street, I'm going to take all your property because we've got the native title to this country and the lease. And here's the lease here. Yeah, you see? You see? Now, that'll do. I'm going to go now. I'm going to go and back to my site and carry on. Okay, so that's today. It's Monday, the 1st of July, 2024. Just wrapping this up. It's gone on for 1 hour, 24 minutes and 32 seconds. And so we'll cut this video there and put it up with the other video, 2 videos today I'll put together now and develop. Okay, see ya. Have a nice day, and I will too. Bye.